Have you wondered where this connection could go? Are you thinking about whether you may become more than friends one day? If so, you are in the right place, and stay tuned because we are going to be delving into the romantic potential of this connection. Now, to choose the right reading for you, calm your breathing, think about the person in question as you are looking at these piles, and tune into your intuition to feel which pile is most resonating with you. If you feel called to watch more than one pile, that is absolutely fine. Go right ahead, but just be mindful to use your discernment as you are watching this general reading. Now, the piles are as follows. We have the Moonchild Tarot for pile number 1, the Soul Journey Tarot for pile number 2, the Ostara Tarot for pile number 3, and finally the Chakra Wisdom Tarot for pile number 4. Now, if you need more time to choose, then make sure to pause this video as you are sifting through your intuition. But if you are ready, you can go into the description box or the comment section down below, click on the timestamp that you need, and jump straight to your reading. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, pile number 1, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the beautiful Moonchild Tarot, and we are going to be looking at these cards in just a second, because first we are going to dive into the first part of this reading, which is all about what is the current state of your relationship. Now, we're going to be doing this first so that you could make sure that you are actually watching the right pile, as we are going to be looking at your energy specifically in this connection or relationship that you are thinking about as you are watching this reading. The current state of your relationship as it is, and the other person in this relationship dynamic that you have. So yeah, we have some pre-prepared oracle cards to give us a very good understanding of things. So let's see what we have. Okay, we have the singing bowls, or the Tibetan singing bowls. We have opportunity, and we have the bear. We have the lantern. We have standstill, and we have buffalo. And let me see how I can arrange them. We have yin and yang. We have release, and we have the deer. Okay, pile number 1, looking at your energy in this relationship dynamic, I can see that you are somewhat cautious and somewhat in a state of preparation. It seems like you are looking for an opportunity, because we have this opportunity card here. It seems like you are looking for an opportunity to strike at the right moment, or to recognize a window of opportunity, like when to approach, or when to make certain moves that would be more sort of noticeable, more obvious in their intent. We also have this bear card here, and this is again one of those more cautionary cards, because this is kind of like an energy of awakening or coming out of a slumber, and sort of trying to find your footing, trying to make sense of the surrounding. And so it looks as though in this relationship dynamic, you are somewhat cautious. You are potentially also doing some healing, or just some purification, working on yourself, just trying to make yourself like the best possible you that you can possibly be. But this could also talk about you sort of being a healing presence for this other person as well, and we will get to that in a second. But yeah, it feels like a very solid, a very grounded energy that you are coming through as, but it's also, as I said, filled with caution, filled with practicality. We are in the earth element here, and trying to sort of read the room, trying to play your cards just right. And whilst you are maybe not receiving too many clear signals from the other person, you are just sort of keeping your cards close to your chest. Now, looking at the other person's energy, it may very well be that they are either like coming out of a relationship, or they have recently broken up with their partner, or it could just be that they are going through some sort of a difficulty in their life, or a personal transformation of sorts. Because whatever this is, they are definitely letting go of something. They are definitely in this energy of release, and just working through something that has either, as I said, left their life already, or is in the process of changing, transforming for them. They nonetheless, though, are in this deer energy as well, which is very motherly, very nurturing, very caring. But to me, this feels more like self-care and looking after their own needs. At least for the time being, it seems like they are trying to like re-establish themselves, or they need this more gentle energy at this time, and really like looking after, really like, you know, being in this energy where they feel like they need to take care of themselves, and where they may very well need that sort of support from you as well. That's why I mentioned this being like a healing presence to this other person, because they may see you as someone who is, you know, aiding them in going through this process of letting something go, of going through this transformational change. We also have this yin yang card, which is a card of duality. And so again, it seems like they are in the process of some sort of transformation, transmutation, like they are, it's a very transitory period for them. And as I said, it seems like they are trying to just find some sort of balance, find some sort of equilibrium, find their footing again, or just sort of reinvent themselves and their place in the world. So they may be like fluctuating in their energy of masculine or feminine energy. And I'm not talking about gender here. I just want to make that super clear. I'm talking about the masculine and feminine energies, which all of us possess to bigger or lesser degrees. So yeah, moving on to the energy of the connection or relationship itself, though, we have this standstill card. And so this is telling me that for the time being, there may not be too much happening in this connection between you two, or it could just be very much like same old, in a status quo type of a place. And again, it seems very heavily due to whatever this other person that you are thinking about as you are watching this reading is going through. Now, regardless, we have this buffalo card here too, and this is telling me that there is a lot of tension in the air. There is a lot of electricity, so there could be some charged up energy between you that both of you feel, but again, it seems very grounded. Like all of these cards, all of these animal cards are coming through as the earth element. So it's all very practical. It's all very slow moving. It's all very steady and careful and precise. And so it feels like there aren't too many rash movements, too many signals being made or given out at the time being, at least. But there is clearly something in the air, as you can see with the lightning here. And also we have this beautiful lantern card. So this is just telling me that no matter that, you know, this whole relationship as it is right now is possibly a bit slow moving or not very progressive, there is an element of bringing light into each other's lives, or you know, making things a bit easier, making things a bit more happy or lit up, or just, yeah, you know, just sort of lighting up each other's lives in a way. So this is very interesting energy, pile number one. And if you could recognize the dynamic and these different energies that we just talked about, then make sure to keep on watching, because we are going to be looking at the tarot portion next to actually answer the question, How likely is this connection to turn romantic? We're also going to look at the blocks that are possibly inhibiting this relationship from developing romantically. And we are also going to look at how can those blocks be overcome so that the relationship could move in the direction that you wanted to move in. So looking at how likely this connection is to become romantic, we can see that we have the Page of Cups coming out in reverse with the King of Swords coming out upright, and the King of Swords being a card of Aquarius. Now, this is indicating that vulnerability and emotional expression is kind of non-existent right now with this Page of Cups in reverse. And the King of Swords is basically saying that it all comes down to the decision of being very clear, being very intentional in your self-expression. Because the King of Swords is ultimately the highest expression of the air element or the sword's suit. And because we are talking about the air element, we are talking about communication, we are talking about thoughts, we are talking about plans and clarity of mind. And so it does seem like there is a lot of air energy in play here to begin with, but it's very much being ruled by sort of being a bit too in your head and overthinking things. And I am feeling that very strongly on your side of things, specifically because of the energy that came through for you, you know, being very cautious and all that, which I'm not saying is you know, a bad thing in any way, shape or form. But when we are talking about the likeliness of this relationship becoming romantic, it seems like it really does come down to a decision being made and a clear expression of your thoughts, of your feelings, of your desires. That seems to be key here. Because without this emotional vulnerability, with the Page of Cups in reverse, it seems like things are not going to progress in the direction that you would really ultimately want it to. Now, when we are looking at the block that is currently inhibiting this relationship from developing romantically, we get a very similar message here with the King of Pentacles coming out in reverse, which is an earth element card, and it is a card of Taurus specifically, and the Seven of Swords coming out right next to it. So this is very clearly talking about keeping secrets, you know, holding your tongue, not divulging exactly what it is that you are feeling, what it is that you are thinking, what it is that you are desiring. And with the King of Pentacles coming out in reverse, this is about a lack of accountability or a lack of responsibility, like in the sense that it feels like an energy of shrinking, of withdrawing, of, you know, not having the courage to be seen, not having the courage to show up, right? And this also talks about an element of possibly feeling unworthy or feeling like you don't have what it takes, or feeling unsure of whether you can actually step up to the task. And again, because we have this Seven of Swords here, this feels like this is, you know, somewhat of a warped self-perception. Now, this feels like this is talking about you and sort of you having the doubts, or you not being sure how to approach, or whether you should even open up about this. But, you know, if this is talking about you, and this could be talking about the other person too, or this could be talking about the both of you, right? But whatever the case, this self-perception of, you know, not having what it takes or not feeling worthy enough or something like that, this is a warped perception of self, because the Seven of Swords is all about deceit as well, you know. So it seems like there is a matter of not seeing yourself properly, or not valuing yourself in the right way. And also, as I said, holding back the truth, holding back what it is that you truly feel on the inside. That seems to be the key message here, especially when we look at the way to move about overcoming these inhibitions or blocks that are currently in place. We have the Six of Swords with the Page of Swords. And so, especially with the Page of Swords coming out here, this is very clearly a message of honest and direct self-expression. This is basically indicating that truth needs to be said, it needs to be verbalized, and there is real conversation that needs to happen, especially with the Six of Swords, regarding how to move forward, or what sort of plans you have for the future, or what sort of future vision you see. Now, obviously, I understand that it's a lot easier said than done, and it can be very scary opening up about your feelings and opening up about what it is that you truly want. But it feels like just, you know, harboring these feelings in secret and holding on to them, even if, you know, even if your intention is not to, you know, necessarily have like this huge lifelong commitment and settle down and get married and all of that. Maybe you are just sort of interested, or you just want to see what happens if you try and develop this relationship further. If you were just curious about where this thing could go, maybe this other person is too. But if you don't communicate that sort of desire or interest, then you know, it might just stay in this weird standstill energy. So definitely from these cards, it looks as though communication is super important, and holding on to what it is that you are actually feeling or truly desiring seems to be doing you more harm than good. And another thing I'm feeling here with the Six of Swords and the Page of Swords is that it may be a good idea to actually get very clear on what it is that you do want, right? Like what it is that you ultimately would like to get from this connection, or where you would like this development to go, like which direction you would like it to go in. To get clear on that, again, whether you want something that is an actual long-term commitment, or whether you want to whether you just want to see very like almost like, you know, casually or in a very non-pressurized manner, where this connection could potentially end up in. So just making it very clear for yourself what it is that you actually would like to see happen with this relationship, that might be a very good idea too, to actually come up with a specific plan. But let's close the reading out with some advice from Spirit. So let's see what Spirit has to say to you regarding this reading. Okay, we got 3 messages here. And they have quite a bit of text on them, so I'm just going to read them to you. First off, we have grace. I face disagreements with grace and flow through the ups and downs of my relationships without getting thrown off center. With grace, I am able to keep my cool, be my best self, and not resort to name calling, even when that crappy poo-poo face is being a douchey bath monster. So, yeah, you know, just as you're expressing yourself, it could be that maybe, you know, the other person is not answering or is not reciprocating in the manner that you would like them to, or that you expect them to, right? In your like idealized version of how things play out. So just keeping an open mind on how this communication could go. We also have independence. I embrace total independence and I see how empowering that is. Even when I'm in a relationship, I can still be independent by meeting my own needs and creating my own happiness. When I do that, I am the fullest version of myself and I have much more me to give without needing pieces of me in return. And finally, we have warmth. I focus on warmth and let it guide all my interactions. No matter how others behave, I choose to respond warmly. With warmth, I can melt any icy exterior. I can soften any hard feelings. I can microwave any pizza. Today, I adopt the saying, kill him with kindness, and turn myself into a warm and loving serial killer. Okay, so yeah, these cards are kind of goofy in that sense, but I feel like the message here in general is just to, not hold back on the truth of what it is that you are feeling and what it is that you are desiring because of fear of rejection, or because of, you may be scared of how the other person is going to react. But it feels like just having a very open and a very warm attitude, that seems to be key here as well, especially with all of these sword cards coming through. So you could be going about this situation very analytically, very logically, almost trying to plan everything meticulously. But I feel like vulnerability and warmth are really the key pieces here that could take you and this relationship to a place where you would like it to go. So that's it, pile number 1. Thank you for choosing to share your time with me. I truly appreciate it. I hope that this reading was enjoyable and insightful to you, and I hope to see you very soon in one of my next readings. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to your reading, pile number 2. So you chose the beautiful, stunning Soul Journey Tarot, which is very pastel-y, very lilac, so you can't probably see the backs all too well. But anyway, we are going to be looking at these tarot cards in just a bit, because first we are going to dive into the pre-prepared oracle cards, which are going to tell us all about the current state of your relationship, the one that you are thinking about as you're watching this reading. So this will help you to understand whether you are actually watching the right pile or not. So let us see. First and foremost, we are looking at your energy in this relationship. We have the Key, we have Purification, and we have Hawk. Okay. Now, the relationship dynamic itself, as it is currently between you and this other person, we have Leaves, Truth, and Eagle. Okay. And the other person's energy in this relationship dynamic, the one that you are thinking about, we have the Dandelion, Stillness, and Bat. Okay, wow, pile number 2. I am getting 2 very different scenarios with your cards. So I'm going to start off with the first scenario, which feels the strongest to me as I am looking at these cards. But don't you worry, if that scenario doesn't resonate, I have another one as well. So just bear with me. But the first scenario, I have to be honest, feels like a scenario of a relationship that has already been and that has broken apart, but that most likely there is some difficulty in moving on from. Now, looking at your energy, this looks like you have made some sort of a breakthrough. You have come to some sort of realizations and worked through some of these issues that were present in the relationship when you were still together with this person. And it almost seems like with this Hawk energy coming through, it almost seems like you have an intuitive sense of things like not being over yet because of this other person's energy. So you seem to be very much in tune with the situation as a whole, but it also feels like you have like figured out some sort of things for yourself more on a more spiritual level, most likely, but you know, also on a like an emotional level. And it seems like you are, yeah, like you are sort of more clear on what has happened and where you want to go next. Because I mean, we have this purification card and we have this key card, so those two cards very clearly to me indicate that there has been some sort of progression on working through past issues. Now, the person that you are thinking about as you're watching this reading, this feels like a whole other story, because it almost feels like they are quietly hoping for some sort of rebirth to happen. Very clearly, we have this dandelion card, which talks about wishes or you know, hopes and dreams, that type of thing. We have this stillness card, which feels like, you know, they are waiting sort of patiently to get some sort of message or to get some sort of action, you know, being taken. It seems like they are in this mode of just quietly trying to like manifest something, or still, you know, with stillness there is also an element of holding on, of keeping themselves stuck in an energy. And we have this bat card, which to me feels like rebirth. So something that has already happened, something that has already ended, and hoping for that thing to come back to life. So this very much feels like a holding on energy. And the final set of cards, which is talking about the relationship as it is currently between you two. The reason why I felt so strongly that this is talking about a situation between you and your ex is because, or you know, even if this was not like an official committed relationship, it still seems like there has been some sort of romantic element present already. And maybe you decided that it wasn't for you. Maybe you decided that it, you know, it doesn't really work that way, or you would much rather stay friends or just remain like friendly, something like that. But anyway, looking at the energy of the connection itself, first of all, we have this leaves card, right? So again, this is an element of letting something go, releasing something. So, you know, something that is already been let go of. We have the card of truth, which indicates that both of you know what the deal is. There isn't anything that, you know, has been held back, or the clarity of the situation is very much present. So both of you know what has happened and what the situation currently is. And finally, we have this eagle card, which is again very clearly an energy of, you know, clarity, of focus. So as I said, this very strongly feels like a situation that has already been romantic and that isn't anymore, but that specifically I feel this other person in question has a very hard time letting go of, and possibly is yearning for some sort of reconnection. Now, if this situation is not like an ex's thing, or, you know, not like a situationship thing that has already been romantic in some regard, then the other scenario that I'm feeling is that you have a connection with a person with whom you feel like you really want, you know, something more to develop, but where some issues or some like previous baggage needs to be worked through first. So especially with this leaves card, it feels like there is still something that is almost like standing in the way, or that is weighing down this connection from moving forward in a romantic capacity, whether this is because of a relationship that you have previously gone through and that you are still working on healing from, or whether this is this other person that is still working through some things, or maybe it is the both of you. But it definitely feels like there has to be something that still needs to be cleared away or still needs to be dealt with. But it feels like you both are aware of this, or you have again discussed it. With this truth card at the center, you both seem to be, or this connection between you seems to be one of a lot of clarity. Again, a lot of clarity, a lot of focus, a lot of like knowing that this is something that you want, but also pacing yourself and waiting for the right time, or allowing for things to be aligned just so, to give this connection the best shot that it could possibly have. Just sort of being very real about what it is that is going on and what both of you need at this time. Again, it seems like you seem to be in a place where you are fairly sort of clear on what it is that you want, what it is that you need, and where you are in your own sort of process of like romantic relationships, commitment, that type of thing. But this other person, again, it feels like there is some sort of passivity or some sort of being somewhat closed off, or like hoping for things. There is, as I said, there is definitely a wishing component here, but at the same time, there is some dread or some more like dark energies to work through as well with this stillness and this bat card. So, you know, take it as it resonates, whether you resonate with the first scenario or whether you resonate with the second scenario. If either of those spoke to you, then keep watching, because we are going to look at some tarot cards next to see how likely this connection is, how likely is it that this connection is going to become romantic? What are the current blocks that are inhibiting this relationship from developing romantically? And finally, how can those blocks be overcome so that this relationship could develop in the direction that you would like it to? So let's see. Okay, so looking at these cards, I do have to say I am getting more of a confirmation for the first scenario of this being like a situation where you have already been down the romantic path and, you know, things sort of not maybe working out in the best way. But anyway, I'm just going to give you the cards as I see them. So looking at how likely this connection is to become romantic, we have the Page of Wands and the Justice card, which is a card of Libra in the Major Arcana. Now, what this is saying essentially is that basically it comes down to whatever path you want, what sort of path is more desirable to you. Because with the Justice card here, it seems like there is an element of cause and effect at play. So the sort of moves that you make in either direction is what is going to ultimately come out of this situation. So be very careful and very mindful of the sort of action that you take and the moves that you make. Because with the Page of Wands, this is essentially saying that this situation is very much at the beginning stages, and the journey is still like undetermined. There is still things to explore. Now, again, if you want this connection to become romantic, like again, if you know, if this is a thing that has already been, if you believe in your heart of hearts that there is still some unfinished business, that there is still something that could possibly, you know, turn out differently than it did last time, or if you feel like there is still some hope for this connection and you feel called to explore that, then Justice is saying that that outcome is very likely. Also, if you feel like this situation has played out as it has, or that there isn't that much hope and there isn't that much desire on your part to revitalize this connection, and you would much rather look in a different direction, then again, this outcome is very likely. So it all comes down to what sort of actions you end up making. And it's specifically talking about the actions and not just the words that you speak or any promises that you make or anything like that. This comes down to the actions that you take, because we are talking about the Wands suit, which is all about fire. It's all about activity. It's all about initiation or initiative, I should say, and drive and motivation. So it feels like you really need to get super, super clear on what it is that you want and whether this connection is something that you truly want to see develop in a romantic way or whether it isn't. Now, looking at the cards that are talking about the blocks that are currently inhibiting this connection from turning romantic or developing romantically, we have the Ten of Swords reversed with the Sun. Now, the Sun is a card of the Sun in Tarot or the Major Arcana. So because of that, it is connected to the sign Leo. And I'm pointing out the signs in case they mean something to you. If they don't, that's fine as well. But with the Ten of Swords coming out in reverse, again, this is making me feel like this connection has already happened and that there is something, you know, from the past, something that has already played out, something that has already ended, that is sort of inhibiting this connection from moving forward. Because with the Sun, again, there is clarity, there is understanding, and there is illumination that is at play here. So clearly, the painful endings, again, that you have gone through, so whether this is in this connection between the two of you, or whether this is, again, as I said, some baggage that you may still be carrying from previous relationships, it seems like there is a lot of awareness of what that has done, or just sort of the element of needing to like liberate yourself from that, or needing to work through whatever is still being held on to. Because the Ten of Swords in reverse always talks about an ending that is being prolonged, or an ending that is not being accepted as an ending. So yeah, and also because the card, the Sun card, also talks about freedom. It seems like, especially if we're talking about the first scenario, right? It seems like for you, the aspect of freedom is something that is very alluring, or something that you are possibly interested in, whereas the other person doesn't seem to be that interested in it. So again, there is this like clash of needs, or clash of desires, clash of interests. Again, you can switch the roles as well if you feel like you are more so resonating with the other person's energy, but I am just talking about the cards as they are coming through and as I am feeling these energies. And finally, we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse with the King of Cups coming out in reverse. The King of Cups being a card of Scorpio. And these two cards are talking about the ways in which you can overcome, or how you can overcome the obstacles or the blocks that are currently, you know, preventing this relationship from becoming romantic. And with the Five of Coins, this is exactly what I was just saying. This talks about needs not being met. So it seems as though whatever you are needing at this time from this connection, and whatever this other person is needing from this connection, or what you are needing from each other, is vastly different. So especially with the King of Cups being here as well, this feels like someone specifically, because this is coming out as, you know, very masculine energy, because we're talking about the king here, but this can just be, you know, someone that is coming out more so in this masculine energy. So, you know, more so the pursuer, or the person who is yearning for this connection. It feels like their needs are very clearly not being met, or they feel like they are in a place of lack, right? With this Five of Coins in reverse. And it seems like in order for this connection to progress, that needs to be moved on from, that needs to be resolved. And And again, this is actually very like possessive and very jealous energy when it comes out in reverse. So that's why, again, I feel like this is more so talking about this other person, as we have been talking about these energies, right? That this other person feels like they are so much more tied to this connection and unwilling to let it go. But ultimately, I feel like in order for this connection to progress in a manner that you would like it to progress in, there needs to be some sort of walls lowered and some like true vulnerability expressed here, about, again, what it is that you want and possibly what it is that the other person wants, and how those two are different from one another. So becoming very clear on which direction you actually want this connection to take is essential. But also, I feel like, as one last sort of message that is coming through here, it's important not to neglect what your needs are as well. But anyway, let's close the reading out with some oracle cards. So let's see what Spirit has to say about your reading, pile number 2. Okay. Oh, interesting. I'm going to keep it upright because it looks like it just says wants and needs. So we are going to dive into that in a second. But these are quite lengthy, so I'm just going to read them to you. So the first oracle card is saying receiving. I open up and allow myself to receive love in all ways from all directions. It may seem scary, but it's better than receiving audits, bedbugs, or hate mail. I receive love, and it feels so good that I decide to receive it some more, and then some more, and maybe just a wee bit more. So, yeah, that's an interesting message, especially if, again, this is talking about, you know, being unclear on whether you want to pursue this relationship again. We also have sensuality. Embracing sensuality doesn't necessarily mean you're a middle-aged swinger. It simply means you're savoring one of the coolest aspects of being alive, sensory input. It's time to get decadent and reward yourself with gifts for the senses. You could drop a wad of cash on champagne and chocolate, or you could tune in and enjoy the incredible gifts around you, the taste of an orange, the sounds of the forest, the texture of corduroy. I don't know your life. The point is, it's time to savor whatever your senses can grab hold of, even if that means you're being sensual. Gross in, what is it? Brackets. Sorry, I couldn't think good. These are somewhat goofy cards, so, you know, not to be taken too seriously. But, yeah, it seems to be encouraging you to focus on the sensory elements of life and finding out where you can sort of increase that for yourself. And at the bottom of the deck, we have wants and needs. I take stock of my relationships and I'm honest about what I want and need from the people in my life. I know the difference between the two. Wants are negotiable, needs are not. Both may be desired and either may be acquired, but that's getting into Venn diagram territory and no one wants to draw one of those. Though some of us might need to. So anyway, yeah, wants and needs, those seem to be somewhat of a key word that came out through the reading as well. So that's it, pile number 2. Thank you for choosing to share your time with me. I truly appreciate it. And I hope that this reading was useful and insightful to you in some way. And I hope to see you very soon in one of my next readings. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to your reading, pile number 3. You chose the Ostara Tarot and we are going to be looking at these cards in just a bit, because first we are going to dive into some pre-prepared oracle cards to give us an understanding of the current state of your relationship dynamic, the one that you are thinking of as you're watching this reading. So hopefully this will help you to understand whether you are watching the right pile or not. So let's get into it. We are starting off with your energy first and foremost in this relationship. So we have the Peacock, we have Healing Chaos, and we have Crocodile. Now for your relationship dynamic, we have the man and woman. We have Blessings. And we have Tarantula. Sorry, can't really see it that well. And let's look at your or the other person's energy in this relationship as it is currently. We have the Scales, we have Freedom, and we have Elephant. Okay, so pile number 3. Let's start with your energy as you are coming through in this relationship dynamic. What I'm feeling about you is that you may be playing it sort of cool and trying to be very, almost like subtle in some way, not like revealing too much of your true intentions and your true feelings. But at the same time, it seems like you are almost throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And the reason I'm saying it is this is because we have this Peacock card coming out first. And this is making me feel of like pride and self-worth. This also talks about intuition, yes, but I'm also feel this element of being somewhat reserved and trying to like, again, show yourself off in a very attractive manner, or trying to be alluring in some way. But at the same time, as I said, there is this element of being somewhat like prideful about it, or not revealing too much of your own vulnerability. Now we have this Crocodile card coming out too, and this is all about being sort of subtle and, you know, playing the long game or waiting patiently and sort of seeing what happens. So again, it seems like you have some sort of a game plan, or you have some intentions, you have some thoughts, you have some desires about this relationship, but at the same time, you're not revealing too much, and you're almost sort of waiting to see how the other person reacts. And then we have this Healing Chaos card, which is so funny because that's the card that is making me think of you sort of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So it feels like every now and then you may be stirring something up, or you may be like throwing something in the mix to like spark something, or create like an unexpected situation, or say something like intriguing, or something that, you know, would sort of stir up the energy a bit, or possibly leave the other person questioning what you exactly meant by that, or whether there was some sort of a hidden meaning behind what you were saying. So yeah, it feels like you are almost in this like spy-like energy, or in a sort of like a detective mode, where you're just sort of trying to see what works and what doesn't, and whether the other person is picking up on your like subtle clues that you may be throwing in there every now and then, and seeing what sort of reaction you get. Now this other person though, they seem to be in a much more like grounded and stable energy, and they may be someone who like grounds and is a very stabling energy for you as well, especially with the Scales card. If this card would focus, there we go. So they seem to be someone who is like very fair, very balanced. But this can also be sometimes about, you know, like being indecisive and sort of going back and forth and not really being too sure about what it is that they want. So it could be that, but it does feel like they are, they are like a stabilizing force in your life as well. It almost seems like they complement you in a very sort of nice and healthy way. But at the same time, as I said, they also have this freedom card, and so that is making me think that maybe they are somewhat like wishy-washy, or maybe they are not entirely sure about what it is that they want, and they could be more of a free soul, or someone who is just like wanting to explore, wanting to go their own way and sort of see where they end up. Especially with this elephant card here too. This is making me think that they are sort of doing their own thing, or that like carving their own path is super important to them, or following some sort of their own like spiritual journey, or something that they feel that they have to do, or something that they feel called to do. So yeah, it almost seems like you may be somewhat afraid of making too forward or too many direct hints about what you would like this connection to turn into, because of how sort of carefree or liberated or freedom oriented this other person seems to be. Like, they seem to be very much in their own element and doing their own thing, and that may be somewhat like, you know, scary to you. Again, because you're not quite sure whether they are going to reply or reciprocate what it is that you are feeling or thinking about. Now, the interesting thing here is looking at the energy between you. We have this blessings card. So this is making me think that the relationship between you two is actually in a very good spot. It seems to be like harmonized, or again, like you are both bringing good traits to the table. You are both adding value to each other's lives, especially with this man and woman card. There seemed to be an acknowledgement of the differences that you have, and you seem to be very much aware and very much acknowledging the differences between you. But it also seems like a complementary thing too. As I said, it feels like you are sort of balancing each other out in a very nice way. So you may be more so, you know, bringing this person like down to earth as well in their own like pursuits and things, or you know, bringing some sort of security to them, or again, maybe even like adding to their sense of excitement or something like that. So yeah, it just seems like you are sort of complementing each other in a very, very nice way. But we have this tarantula card here too, and the tarantula card talks about a crossroads or a decision that needs to be made. And so this is making me think that you could be possibly in a space within your relationship where, you know, you both could be feeling certain things, but there could also be this fear of like, what happens to this beautiful, balanced, harmonized relationship that we have right now that feels like a very strong friendship, or just something, this beautiful connection where you sort of appreciate each other the way that you are. But, you know, if you decide to take it further into like the romantic field, then it could bring about a shift in dynamics, or there is this fear of what happens if we take this further. What happens to this beautiful current dynamic, and whether that is going to change in some way, whether we're going to lose this beautiful complementary energy that we have. So yeah, it seems like you're worried about the potential complications that could arise if you were to like take the next steps in that direction. But yeah, so that is kind of the dynamic that I'm feeling between you two. And if you could resonate with that energy, or the energy that I was describing for the both of you, then make sure to keep on watching, because we're going to look at the tarot cards now to see how likely this connection is to become romantic. What are the current blocks that are inhibiting this connection from developing romantically, and how those blocks can be overcome so that you could, or this connection could develop in the direction that you would like it to. So let's see. Okay, pile number 3. So I'm going to give it to you straight because that's just what is coming through. So basically, we have the Strength in reverse, which is a card of Leo, and we have the 3 of Swords coming out as the answer to the question, how likely this relationship is to become romantic. And with these cards, honestly, I have to say not too likely, because I feel like there is a very, very strong fear of commitment here, especially with the Strength coming out in reverse. This is a card of not being truly in control of your sort of weaknesses or your sore spots, and just sort of letting them rule you, letting them overpower you, not being in control of yourself. And I am feeling that very strongly, specifically for this other person. Maybe you relate to this energy somewhat as well, but it is, as I was saying, this feels like somewhat of a wishy-washy energy of, like, you know, wanting to hold on to their freedom, wanting to have the freedom to explore, that type of thing. It seems to be stemming much more from this other person. And with the 3 of Swords here, this is a clear message of, you know, heartbreak that has been gone through in the past, or just pain and disappointment and hardships that relationships have brought. Very, very painful lessons that have been gone through. And so I feel like those are essentially inhibiting this person from committing to relationships, of being vulnerable in connection in that capacity. So yeah, basically the likelihood as it is right now, right? Because remember, the future can always change, things can change, people change. So it's not set in stone, but as of right now, it looks like this connection is not very likely to turn romantic as it is. Now, the block that is essentially inhibiting this connection from developing romantically is being represented by the 6 of Swords and the 9 of Swords. So again, we're dealing with the Swords element, so all about the mind, the thoughts, the world perspective. And essentially this is saying that there is a lot of fear and anxiety about moving forward into uncharted territory and into new waters that, although, you know, are actually taking you someplace better, because the 6 of Swords is all about transitioning from a place of, you know, conflict and difficulty and tension into much calmer, smoother waters, into a much more, you know, safe, serene, peaceful place. But the transition itself is not an easy one to make. And especially when it is coming out with the 9 of Swords, there is a lot of internal fear and a lot of, like, negative self-talk that is basically blocking this transition from happening. So again, I'm feeling very heavily that this is coming from this other person's side. Again, you know, if this relates to you, that's then that's the way it is too. But I am feeling very strongly that is the case. And finally, we have the Justice and the Moon coming out. The Moon is in reverse. And those 2 cards are coming out as the answers to how those blocks could be overcome. Now, Justice is a card of Libra, and the Moon is a card of Pisces. And again, I'm just pointing out these zodiacal signs in case they mean something to you. But essentially what these 2 cards are saying is that there needs to be very concrete acknowledgement of the fears, of the anxieties, because again, with the Moon card, that is very often what is being highlighted here. You know, the fear of the unknown, the sort of the subconscious fears and anxieties and paranoias that are sort of overruling everything. And those would have to be looked at very, very directly in order to overcome those. But because we are, you know, we are dealing with the major arcana here, this is saying that this is a bigger spiritual lesson. This is not something that can happen very quickly and that can be overcome very easily. This takes practice, this takes dedication, this takes work, essentially. And so basically, if this person is willing to put in the work and actually, deal with these sort of fears of commitment or fears of vulnerability, then it is very likely that those could be overcome. But for the time being, it seems like they are not really in that place right now where they are able to do that, or they just seem to be in a somewhat of a different place in their lives, or in their life, sorry. And yeah, that's kind of the way that it is. That's what I'm feeling, at least. And again, as I said, it could be that this energy is resonating with you too, to some degree. But I am feeling it very strongly on their end. So, and again, I just want to point it out, and I want to emphasize that it doesn't mean that this person doesn't have feelings for you. It actually feels like they very much do have some sort of like passionate or deep feelings, especially with the elephant card, right? That's the way that they came out, and this is fire energy. So this is passionate. This is lively. This is warm. You are coming through as the crocodile, right? So you are in the water element, coming through as like deep and sensual and intuitive and, somewhat like mystical or held back. But still, it seems like you both have feelings, but they are somewhat different in their expression or in the way that you feel them. And also, as I said, whereas your energy seems to be much more like deep running, or the emotions that you are feeling, the feelings that you have seem to be much more deeply imbued. This other person seems to have feelings that are somewhat more like light, or at least, again, it could be that they are not allowing themselves to go there, to allow these emotions to develop very deeply as like a precautionary mechanism, or, a protective mechanism. So yeah, that's basically what is coming through from these cards. I hope that you are not too, I understand that is possibly not the easiest answer to get, but again, I have to say what the cards are telling me, and that's what the cards are telling me. But let's see if we can get any encouraging messages from the oracle cards. Let's see what advice Spirit has for you regarding this energy. Because I also want to just say that, it is your life. It is ultimately up to you what you want to do, and whether you want to sort of wait for this person to work through their stuff and become more emotionally available. But if you don't want to put your life on hold, and you sort of are still keen on like developing a connection, like a romantic connection with someone else, if this is not that person, then you have the ability to do that. And hopefully this reading is something that allows you to decide what is right for you more easily. But yeah, I'm just sort of giving you what I see here. But anyway, let's look at the advice. What sort of advice does Spirit have for you, dear pile number 3, regarding this reading? Okay. We have levity. And we have wants and needs at the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to read it to you because there's quite a lot of text here. So laughter is the best legal, in brackets, medicine. And it looks like it's time for you to take a sweet, sweet hit of it. When someone annoys you or a plan goes awry, try finding something funny in there. And if you ever feel like the butt of the joke, remember that the only difference between someone laughing at you and someone laughing with you is that in the first version, you're not laughing. You always have the option, so opt to lighten up. It's legal in almost 200 countries. So yeah, again, it seems like the message here is to not try and, not to take this too seriously. These cards, like these oracle cards, are more like goofy and lighthearted to begin with. But the message is very clear, to sort of just approach it with a light heart. And was there something else I wanted to say? I can't think of it right now. So anyway, the underlying energy is wants and needs. I take stock of my relationships and I'm honest about what I want and need from the people in my life. I know the difference between the two. Wants are negotiable, needs are not. Both may be desired and either may be acquired, but that's getting into Venn diagram territory and no one wants to draw one of those, though some of us might need to. So yeah, this actually feels like a very sort of solid message of just sort of checking in with yourself and seeing whether you are okay with having your wants or needs like not met in that capacity in this relationship. If that's okay with you, you know, then that's perfect. But if you feel like you are not actually okay with not getting what it is that you want from this relationship ultimately, then maybe it is time to, you know, reconsider how much of yourself you want to invest, especially emotionally, in this connection. But again, I'm just a messenger and you are ultimately in control of how you direct your life. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here, pile number 3. I truly hope that this reading was useful to you. I thank you so much for choosing to share your time with me, and hopefully this reading was useful or insightful in some way. I hope to see you very soon in one of my next readings as well. But take care. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to your reading, pile number 4. So you chose the Chakra Wisdom Tarot, and we are going to be looking at these cards in just a bit. But first we are going to dive into some pre-prepared oracle cards, which are going to talk about the current state of the relationship that you are thinking of as you're watching this reading. So hopefully these messages will help you understand more easily whether you are watching the right pile or not. So let's start off with your energy in this relationship. First and foremost, we have the Unicorn, we have Focus, and we have Sea Serpent. The relationship dynamic between you two as it is currently is being described by the Whale, Success, and Hummingbird. And finally, the other person's energy in this relationship dynamic is coming through as the Feather, Delight, and the Fox. Okay, so pile number 4. Let's talk about your energy first and foremost. You seem to be in a very creative and a very imaginative space. So I'm going to start with the Focus card actually, because this is basically saying that you have a very clear focal point on what it is that you want or what it is that you would like to see happen. Now, I don't know why, but it's almost like, I mean, yes, we are talking about a relationship scenario, and this is very clearly a relationship reading, but for some reason I'm actually picking up on like you having some sort of ambitions outside of this relationship scenario, or being very focused on like creating your dream life. And obviously this does entail a relationship as well, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But it seems to also have a very clear focus on what it is that you want to create outside of this relationship. So professionally, what sort of ambitions do you have when it comes to abundance and material wealth or status or authority, power, that type of thing in the world as well, or even just securing a stable home or a stable family environment, that type of thing. It just seems like you have your eye set on something that you would like to see happen. And again, this is the Unicorn card that came out as one of the descriptors or describers of your energy. And so it seems like whatever this is that you are focused on is not a reality yet. It is something that you are thinking about. It is something that you are fantasizing about. It is something in your mind's eye. We also have the Sea Serpent card, which is tied to the sacral chakra or the second chakra. And this is where all of this creativity and passion and desire and drive resides. So as I said, you seem to be very much in that zone or element where you are focused on creating the life of your dreams and doing whatever you can to reach that goal, to reach those goals in all of these different areas of life. And so it almost seems like, even though one of those dreams seems to be, again, you know, creating a stable relationship or having a loving relationship, it almost feels like that maybe somewhat overshadowed by these other pursuits that you are focused on. Because interestingly, when I look at the energy of the other person that you are thinking about, they seem to be much more invested in this. Now, you know, I'm just saying what the cards are sort of indicating here. And if you feel like you are very much committed to this relationship or connection that you have, then, you know, by all means, take these messages as they resonate with you. But from the looks of it, it seems like this other person is, as I said, much more focused on this actual connection, because we have this delight card. And so that is telling me that within this relationship dynamic, this other person is so sort of happy and has very, very positive emotions tied to this connection that you have. And I feel like they are also, you know, very like communicative or very expressive of those, because we have the feather here, which is all about communication and messages. And so it seems like they are not holding back on that account. It looks like they are very sort of clearly and very boldly, well, I should say, it seems like they are expressing themselves, and it feels like they are making it known that they are happy and that they appreciate you and they appreciate this relationship, this connection, whatever it is. But we also have this fox energy here. And basically what this is saying is that they seem to be very committed to this connection, and they may actually see you as someone that they want to commit to in like a long-term partnership or a committed relationship, that type of thing. But just in general, they seem to be someone that you consider to be very smart, very witty, very sort of able to either, like, maybe they even help you with some of these ambitions that you, maybe this is someone that you work with, or maybe this is someone that you, I don't know, run a business with, or that you are currently studying with, or, you know, however this applies. It seems like this person is, as I said, very much invested in like helping you, or they may actually possibly help you to make some of these dreams a reality, or like ground them in reality in some way, because they are coming through as the earth element. But just generally, they seem to have an eye on you and this whole connection, and they seem to have a fairly clear understanding, or a very direct sort of direction that they would like to see this relationship take, or that where they want this thing to go, which is interesting, because I have to be honest, pile number 4, yours is the only pile where I've kind of like felt that the interest is much bigger on like the other side. And again, I'm not saying that your interest is not there. I just feel like this is somewhat more directed in this direction of the relationship. And now looking at the actual energy of the relationship itself, it seems like it is very much in like a stable place. I mean, we have the card of success. And so your relationship seems to be in a very like stable place where, you know, everyone like knows their role, everyone knows what they are supposed to do, and it all seems to be running smoothly and working like it should. But it also seems to be, again, it seems to be like goal oriented, or almost like, like there is some sort of achievement to be attained here. And we also have the whale card and this hummingbird coming through. And both of these cards are talking also about learning and about sort of being present. And so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what sort of relationship dynamic you are in here, pile number 4, but it has like some sort of professional component to it, or at least it feels like it. Or, you know, this could even be like a mentor student, or a coach and a trainee, or some sort of element like that. Almost like there is a hierarchy here that is present. And again, you know, apply it to your life as you need to. But even if there is not like a teacher student, that type of energy here, it just feels like the connection as it is, it's very like present, it's very supportive, especially if this other person, as I said, wants to like help you, wants to see you succeed, and they may be helping you with like some sort of endeavors that you are working on, and maybe you are helping them too. It feels like a very just like a very supportive sort of relationship here. But also it feels like there is not that much like romantic energy being expressed, or even romantic interest being expressed. And although I do feel like that, you know, it is here, especially I feel like on this other person's part, they may be, you know, they may be expressing themselves clearly and intentionally, but they may not necessarily reveal too much about what it is that they are truly like feeling underneath, you know. So anyway, it's kind of complex, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling here, but if you could resonate at all to what I was just saying, if you could recognize these energies, then definitely keep on watching, because we're going to look at how likely this connection is to become romantic. What are the current blocks that are inhibiting this connection from, you know, developing in a romantic direction? And finally, how can those blocks be overcome so that this connection could develop in a way that you would like to see it develop? So let's see. So pile number 4, we first got the Two of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune, which is a card of Jupiter, so it can be tied to both Pisces and Sagittarius. And I'm just pointing out the zodiacal signs in case they mean something to you. But with these two cards coming out first and answering the question how likely this connection is to turn romantic, the answer is somewhat like, it's kind of so-so. I actually have to say it's like 50-50, because basically they are both indicating that there is an element of passivity here. With the Two of Swords specifically, this is about being in a bit of a no man's land, or in a bit of a standstill energy where no decisions are being made, most likely because it is a difficult decision, or basically, you know, there is the potential of choosing wrong or doing the wrong thing. So there is this fear of not wanting to make a mistake, and so not really choosing anything, or not really knowing what to focus on. So it seems like, because that choice is not necessarily being made by either of you, it's sort of all left up in the air. And we have the Wheel of Fortune here too, which is again indicating that there is this hope of things just sort of, you know, working out, or that, you know, life will show it basically to you, you know, whether this is the right thing or not. Almost like allowing destiny to take the wheel, or the universe to take the wheel. And basically, yeah, because of that element of passivity that I was talking about, it seems like it really is, you know, up in the air. It's not clear whether this relationship is likely to turn romantic, because, you know, as long as no one is making any like specific moves, it's just sort of going to be in this status quo place, or standstill energy again. Now, we have the Two of Wands and the Knight of Swords coming out next as the block that is currently in place inhibiting this relationship from developing romantically. The Knight of Swords is a card of Gemini, just pointing it out there. And again, with both of these cards coming out, this is saying that there is an unknowingness, or there is some sort of undecidedness on what to pursue specifically. Basically, there are two directions that you could go in. And I feel like this is, again, specifically talking about you because, as I said, your energy feels the one that is very much focused on like achieving all of these different things outside of this relationship dynamic. And so you seem to be sort of like all over the place, almost like stretched thin in that sense, because you can't do it all at once. And so this is basically what that Two of Wands is indicating, that there are several options or different paths that you could take. And because you're not necessarily choosing one specific one to follow, it's kind of ambiguous. And with the Knight of Swords as well, Knight of Swords is actually a very determined energy and a very much like a go-getter energy. But because it is coming out next to the Two of Wands, basically the block is that the energy of pursuing the relationship is somewhat hazy, or it's not focused in that direction. There is too sort of many alternatives at play and too many places where energy and focus is being directed. And so that is basically what is slowing this energy down. And finally, we have the Star and the Seven of Swords coming out as how this block can be overcome. And with the Star, we have Aquarius energy at play. And so in order to achieve what it is that you want out of this relationship, there has to be a clear strategy with the Seven of Swords here, because this is actually, I mean, this has a bad rap, this card, but it is essentially about coming up with a plan and structurizing your movement so that you could turn the situation to the sort of the best that it can be and to your advantage. And with the Star energy here too, this is talking about, you know, your wishes, your dreams, your hopes for the future. But they have to be somewhat organized. They have to be thought through, and they have to be considered carefully regarding, you know, what it is that you are actually moving towards, what it is that you are potentially giving up if you pursue one thing and not the other. And so there could be an element of FOMO here that is sort of going through your mind a bit. Maybe that's why you are sort of trying to focus your energy on all of these different things. Maybe it's even because, you know, if we are getting a bit more deep here, maybe it's even because you feel unworthy of a committed relationship or like a true partnership unless you have all of your life, you know, worked out to perfection or to the standard that you want it to be. And so maybe that's why you are so sort of torn between different things or between achieving different things in your life. But essentially the message here is about considering what you truly want, what the ultimate wish is with the Star here. Like, what is the most important thing that you definitely feel like you need to accomplish that would make you the happiest? And then with the Seven of Swords, actually coming up with a plan, with a strategy to get there, instead of just, you know, blindly hoping for things to work out. Because I feel like if no concrete moves are made, then that's just it. The relationship is just going to sort of stay in this place until something, you know, and until life throws some unexpected things on your path, and the dynamic inevitably changes in some way or another. But it will then be kind of like out of your control is what I'm feeling. So I want to close the reading out with some oracle messages. So let's see what sort of advice Spirit has for you regarding your very interesting and very complex reading. Let's see. Okay. Wow, we have receiving and we have commitment at the bottom. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm going to read it to you. So, because there's quite a lot of text on these cards. So, receiving. I open up and allow myself to receive love in all ways from all directions. It may seem scary, but it's better than receiving audits, bed bugs, or hate mail. I receive love and it feels so good that I decide to receive it some more and then some more and maybe just a wee bit more. So I feel like the message here is basically, you know, especially if you fall in that category of feeling like you are unworthy of love or unworthy of a relationship until you have all of your stuff worked out and all of it like together, right? Just sort of being, you know, allowing life to surprise you in that sense, or allowing love to come in, because especially I do feel like it's here. This potential for something is definitely here. That I feel from this other person, and it's all about just, you know, turning your focus on it, or showing that you are open to it and that you have enough energy to contribute, that you have enough attention to contribute to this connection, you know, that you are interested. Because I feel like at this time, even though you are very clearly interested, again, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, but it may not actually come across as such. So yeah, at the bottom of the deck we have commitment. I willingly accept that it's safe to topple my walls and commit completely to a relationship. It might be one that's already here or one that's on the way. Either way, those walls have got to go. Without him, I can go further, feel freer, and love bigger than ever before. Bonus, no walls means I'll save a lot of money on picture frames. Okay, so yeah, these cards are somewhat goofy and they try to be very lighthearted so that, you know, some of these more deep messages don't come out as deep, as hard to receive. But yeah, I feel like these messages are very, very important, and especially if you do feel somewhat, again, reluctant to receive love or be vulnerable in the relationship scenario until you feel like you are sort of worthy of it, right? If that speaks to you, then hopefully these oracle card messages gave you some encouragement to just sort of surrender and to see what happens, right? If you open up to this potential. But that's what I have for you, pile number 4. Thank you so much for choosing to share your time with me. I truly appreciate it, and I hope that you got something useful and insightful from this reading. And I hope to see you very soon in one of my next readings as well. But take care, and bye-bye.